Geek Therapy Radio.
The club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, we're drinking fast and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now to my hand, stop putting them in on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. And last night you were in my room, and now my bed sheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. I'm in love with your body. I'm in love with your body.
Welcome to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. I am your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, as always. And just as I hit record, I remembered I'm going to do my affirmation first in this episode. And the reason why I do that is to make sure that you get to the most important part first, which is hearing the following. You are worthy of love. You listening right now are worthy of love. You're worthy of giving love. You're worthy of receiving love. And you're worthy of your own self-respect. I firmly believe that while, yes, there is no magic words that can fix our own self-image, our own self-worth, our own self-respect, I do think that we can chip away at it each day. And if we chip away at the barrier between us and our own self-respect, that, you know what, each day will be a little bit better than we were the day before, a little bit happier than we were the day before. And I firmly believe also that a way to chip away at the barrier between us and our own self-respect is to lean into our geek thing. We are all geeks about something. If we lean into our inner geek, rekindle an old hobby, find a new hobby, take ourselves down these rabbit holes of interest and curiosity, I think that we will find that we do have value, that we are capable of more than we thought we were. So if we just do that each day, chip away at that wall between us and our own self-respect through our geek things, through our hobbies, I think we'd all be a little bit better off. So, all right, that's the most important part of the podcast. It's done. If you stop listening right now, at least you heard the most important thing, is that you are loved. Okay, so in this episode of Geek Therapy Radio, I just wanted to start off, after the affirmations, with giving a shout out to an astronaut who has spent the most time in space for a woman. That's right, Christina Koch has surpassed the old record for most consecutive days in space. The old record was set by Peggy Whitson in 2017. She was the female with the previous longest lasting record in space. It was 289 days, 5 hours, and 1 minute. So if Christina Koch is to remain on schedule, she will have logged 328 days in space. Now it's going to be 328 days, and how many hours, how many minutes, we don't know for sure. It all comes down to, the exact scheduled re-entry and landing and however they measure it, but it's going to be at least 328 days in space. And that's just 12 days shy of the longest record held by woman or man. Scott Kelly spent 340 days in space when he did his mission, his year-long quote-unquote mission from 2015 to 2016. So that begs the question, if it's just 12 days shy of the all-time record, male or female, then... Now, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I do not work for NASA, and I'm sure this is easier said than done, but I would figure, and maybe Christina Koch has already asked this, hey, can I stay in for another 2 weeks just to make sure that I hold the all-time record? I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I would also be surprised if it does. I'd be pleasantly surprised if it does happen, and not that surprised if it doesn't happen. Am I making sense there? I just really hope to see it happen, but if it doesn't happen, you know what? Throw the fish back in the water. We'll go for that record again. So she's scheduled to land on February 6th. And if she does that, she'll have remained in space the longest out of any woman in history. So kudos to Christina Koch. And just, did you know that women actually make, not actually like it's a, oh wow, did you know? Oh, strange thing to know. No, women make great fighter pilots and they make great astronauts. Better than men in most cases. And it just comes down to physiology. I've touched on this on the Geek Therapy Radio before, is that they have a higher pain tolerance. They're the ones giving birth, by the way, so it seems like they can handle a lot more pain than men do. I know that when I feel bad, I will complain a little bit. I don't complain to everybody if I feel bad. No, maybe nobody would know I feel bad. My wife will know if I feel bad. I will let her know immediately if I feel bad. But, despite me being stubborn and muscling through it, I'll at least let her know that I feel bad. My wife, I guarantee you she can withstand more pain than I can. And again, it's because women give birth. They are naturally inclined to be predisposed to handling pain better than men do. And space flight and fighter pilot training is painful. They can also pull more G's than men, G-force, because they are typically shorter. Their physiology is that they are typically shorter than men, which means that their heart has to pump blood less distance around their body, which means they can withstand G-forces, more G-forces typically than a man before passing out. All of that adds up, and there's many other things, but all of that stuff adds up to make women ideal astronauts and ideal fighter pilots. So kudos to women in space. Kudos to women in STEM fields, not that they need my or any sort of validation or anything like that for it, but I like it when stereotypes are broken. When, for instance, Winnie Cooper is one of my favorite examples. The actress who played Winnie Cooper in The Wonder Years, Danica, what's her last name? Danica. It's not that I don't have Google right in front of me. One more time. But she holds a degree in a STEM field. She's a mathematician. Danica McKellar, right? And let's see what her actual degree is. Again, because I have Google right in front of me. She got her degree in mathematics and actually has a theorem named after her and the other students who came up with this. The other graduates who came up with this theorem, the Shays-McKellar-Wynn theorem. And I'm actually going to look up what that theorem is. We are deep diving now. Yeah, I can't really explain it. It's called percolation in Gibbs states multiplicity for ferromagnetic Ashkin-Teller models on Z2. Now, any mathematician out there is probably banging their head against their headphones or their speaker because I probably pronounced that way wrong, especially the actual theorem itself. You know what? It's a published paper, so let me just read the introduction. I'm taking this right out of her paper, Shays, McKellar, and Wynn. This is the introduction. This is going to go way over my head. I'm just reading straight from the paper. An issue that sometimes arises in statistical mechanics concerns the connection between percolation and phase transitions. For the Potts models on Z2, I'm not sure that Z2 actually called Z2, there are characterization theorems relating the uniqueness of the Gibbs states and the absence of spin system percolation, CNPR1, CNPR2, C1. Explicitly for the Ising magnet, the region of non-uniqueness is characterized by percolation of positive spins in the positive state. The analogous result holds for the Potts model, and number of similar results for varying systems were established. And okay, I'm not going to read the I'm not going to read the whole thing here. Yeah, so she's very, very smart. I know that Natalie Portman also went to Harvard. And I just love it when people, women of course, but just people in general, when they are not what you assume. That just because they're a pretty face or a hunk or whatever, that there is actually a mind behind it. So I love it when people break the mold like that and go against convention. My wife and I are watching Marvelous Miss Maisel, where we finished the third season, so we're waiting like everybody else. And the scenes where they're in the lecture hall for mathematics, and how you subtly notice that all the women in the class, there's like 4 of them, but they sit in the way back row, out of the way for all the men doing all the math work, all the manly math work, learning. It just this, like, that subtle little idea in the 60s and 50s that you can attend the class, women, but you can't get in the way, and don't you dare raise your hand, don't you dare answer questions, let the men do the work, you just sit back in the class and observe, and if you pass, you pass. It makes me wonder if women actually got any time to pick the professor's brain, or tutoring, or were they allowed in office hours? I'm not sure. I'm not saying that they weren't, but it just makes you think. Were professors annoyed if the women in the class showed up during office hours and wanted extra to go over a theory that they couldn't quite get, versus if a male walked in and it was just expected? This isn't a podcast about patriarchy or anything like that. It's just these little questions and ponderings that come to my mind, and you chose to listen, so that's what we're talking about right now. But we will move on. While I'm thinking about it, I am going to include a link to the Shays-McKellar-Wynn theorem in the podcast description. If you are curious, if you can make sense of it, I'm putting the link to the papers right down in the podcast description. It's fun to look at, lots of squiggly lines and lots of variables and such, and graphs and things, but it's down there. It's available if you want to take a peek at it. Now, you may have heard over the past week or two about the teenager who interned for NASA and wound up discovering a new planet. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to delve into who this kid is and what exactly he discovered, because I think a lot of us, when we hear news like this, it's always just in passing, an intern at NASA discovered a planet, and that's all we know. Less of us know the kid's name, less of us know what the planet is called that he discovered, let alone that it was a he. What he used to discover it, what was special about the planet. So we're going to talk about that right now. First of all, he's 17 years old, and his name is Wolf Cukier. 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 17 years old, and he was interning at the Goddard Space Flight Center. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. And his job was to examine data sent back by the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS for short. And what he found was a planet 1,300 light years away from Earth. And let's talk about that planet. Some stats about the planet that he discovered. Officially, the name of the planet is TOI 1338b. He says that his brother wanted to call it Wolftopia after their last name, but he jokes that he thinks 1338b is sufficient. So what's interesting about the planet that he discovered is it's 6.9 times larger than Earth, and what they were looking for specifically was a planet that orbits 2 stars. In other words, a circumbinary planet. Now, I'll let that sink in for a little bit for Star Wars fans. Luke Skywalker lived on a planet, Tatooine to be exact, and the iconic scene where he walks out of his home up onto the surface and there's the sunset of two suns in the sky. Tatooine had two suns. Tatooine was orbiting a binary star system, and that's what they were looking for at the Goddard. Why am I blanking out? I'm sorry. I'm recording this so late. Thank you for for bearing with me in all of this. The Goddard Space Flight Center. It was supposed to be an internship, and it wound up being exactly this. It was an internship just for 2 months. And he discovered the planet just 3 days in. Now, the way that they discover these planets, for anyone curious, and I would imagine that if you're even listening to this podcast, you might be curious about some things, just in general. Right now, we're talking about how you discover exoplanets, especially exoplanets, in this case, using TESS, Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, is they look at a star, basically, or a binary star system, and they're looking for dips of light, regular dips of light at intervals from that star. Now, usually what that means is a planet is passing in front of the star. So look up at a light bulb on the ceiling and then pass your hand in front of the light bulb. That little dip in light between the light bulb and your eye as your hand goes across it, and it causes that little dimming for just a moment, just a little moment, in this case a fraction of a second, using your hand in a light bulb. But on an intergalactic scale, you're still looking for that dim. And when you see that dim, that makes you look closer at that star system to see and determine if it's a planet blocking the light or if it's just fluctuations in the energy of the star, any number of things. But if it meets the criteria, then it usually means a planet, and there's ways to test for that. This is what this gentleman discovered just 3 days in. 17-year-old Wolf Kokier. I guess Wolftopia. That it's his first name is Wolf. Kokiertopia. It doesn't sound as cool as Wolftopia. So that's really cool. 3 days in. When you had an internship, what were you doing 3 days into an internship? The point of an internship, among other things, it's equally as important to the intern that they're discovering not only if they're a good fit for the company, good fit for the line of work, but the intern is discovering, hey, now that I'm in this, now that I'm getting experience in this business, in this industry, do I really want to do it, or do I want to go back to school and change my major or change my focus? Whatever it is, it's as much as it is the whoever hired you for the internship, whatever company, whatever industry is testing you out. You're testing the industry out also as an intern. So Wolf says, or at least as of right now, being 17 years old, he's alluded to the fact that he is interested in pursuing a career at NASA. He says, quote, "I have no idea about NASA's hiring practices, but it can't hurt. It's a good thing to have on my CV," he says, discovering a planet 3 days in. I've had internships before. The internship that comes to mind is when I interned at Sugar Hill Recording Studios here in Houston. And that internship, I distinctly remember spending 8 hours one day soldering mic cables, making mic cables, and repairing different patch cables. It was not the most glamorous thing in the world. I think a lot of people think of world-class recording studios and they're going to go in there and do all sorts of cool things with all sorts of cool artists. I recorded a lot of symphony, which was really cool. I very much appreciated a lot of cellos and woodwinds and things like that. And when I say I recorded, I mean I shadowed and I watched and I helped set up microphones and things like that. This was way back 2005-ish. I had one rap group come in and that was really fun. I played dominoes for like 4 hours. It was a freaking blast. That session was great. I got to work with a couple rock artists. It was great. Side note, Sugar Hill Recording Studios, extremely famous recording studios, especially for the Gulf Coast. That's where Destiny's Child got started. ZZ Top recorded there regularly. Lots of top artists have recorded there. They just pop in. So when huge artists come to, do the rodeo here in Houston, a lot of times they hop over to Sugar Hill Recording Studios just to kind of hash out an idea or lay some tracks down to a work in progress, something like that. A lot of people have been through Sugar Hill Recording Studios, and it's like many recording studios, it is very inconspicuous. You wouldn't notice it. You wouldn't notice that the very blank building had a world-class recording studio in it, but that's the way a lot of recording studios are. But anyways, the internship there, 3 days in, I was soldering cables, patching things. I wasn't really doing... It's a grounding experience. Most internships are a grounding experience. So the fact that Wolf, this teenager, Wolf Coquier, was in there 3 days and he discovered a planet 1,600 light years away, that's amazing. See, he embraced his inner geek. He embraced his geek thing. He likes space. He likes NASA. He likes space travel. He interned with NASA. 3 days in, discovered a planet. You never know what you're going to do until you actually try it. You never know how it's going to work out. Now, in a lot of cases, of course, it just doesn't work out. It's boring. You just you feel like you're treading water, and that's that for that instance. But sometimes you discover things really quick. You do something really cool really quick. Now, will Wolf discover any more planets in his lifetime? That's to be seen. I have a feeling that it's one of those endeavors that if you try to do it individually, you may spend your entire life and not discover an exoplanet. But if he's in the right place with the right tools and right equipment and right group around him, sure, if he pursues this, I think he'll find a lot of exoplanets in his lifetime. So more power to you, Wolf. That is awesome. Going back to the Sugar Hill Recording Studios story, one of the reasons why I got out of interning there is that there was pressure from my dad. My dad was just being the realist that he is. So I was interning at Sugar Hill for several months, and my dad's just like, when are you going to get a paycheck? Every time I'd come home, he was never like, I'm really proud of you for doing that. That's really cool. Eventually, I mean, he was at first. Eventually, he's just like, when are they going to pay you? When are they going to pay you? Where's the paycheck? And he just he didn't tell me directly, but I just got the sense that he was telling me, you're wasting your time. That's the sentiment I got, is that maybe I'm wasting my time with this. So I wound up writing to my mentor at Sugar Hill saying, hey, I just kind of feel like I'm spinning my wheels, so I'm going to move on to other things. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I should have just said, hey, I think it's time to move on. Lesson learned. They weren't sore about it or anything like that. Maybe there's a few people around there who might remember me, but anyways, that's how I ended that. A few months after that, I was in a pool of 3 interns. Those other 2 interns went on to full-time pay. And if I would have just stuck around a little bit more, I would have been full-time. And who knows how my future would have been if I stuck around Sugar Hill Recording Studios. Everything happens, well, depending on what you believe, everything happens for a reason. I don't know how my life would have been different had I stayed at Sugar Hill Recording Studios. I do know that a few years later, the mastering wing of Sugar Hill Recording Studios, they reached out to me to buy the mastering wing of Sugar Hill Recording Studios. And at first I was honored. I was like, oh, wow, I'm honored that you asked, you're trusting me to even offer for me to buy that side of the business and run that side of the business. And then it kind of dawned on me later on. It's like, I don't think they really cared what I did with it. They were just trying to sell it. It's kind of like when selling a used car, like for most people, you care about the sale. You don't care if they take that used clunker and drive it off a cliff or blow it up or use it for target practice, whatever. You're just trying to sell it. So at the time, I was honored that Sugar Hill thought of me to sell that mastering wing to. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, they probably just went through the list of people who have been through the doors and offered. I think it was something like $90,000. And basically, of course, my reply to them was, I am in no position to purchase a business like that, to dive right in. Yes, they had a client list already set. I didn't go over the client list completely. I didn't go over the books completely. to see how profitable it would have been. My feeling was that it might not have been currently profitable, that it did have some income, but at that rate, if it stayed like that, I wouldn't have seen my money back. I would have had to go to the bank, take out a loan, use collateral, use the DeLorean against it. It just wasn't a good idea at the time. It would have been cool though. I would have. It would have been a really, really cool place just to go and hang out and of course work. But it is so hard, you guys. Oh my goodness, especially in recording. So music recording. Right now, anybody with a USB microphone and a pair of headphones can record world-class music. Billie Eilish, that's exactly what she does. She recorded her album, and I think, seven Grammys or something like that, at least nominated for 7 Grammys. I don't know how much she's going to win or has won. Whatever. Arguably the best album of 2019. She did that in her bedroom with a microphone and a pair of headphones. That's how she did that. That's where the technology is at. So what I'm getting at is, let's say I bought this mastering suite, this mastering business. It would be really hard to convince people to spend top dollar, to spend thousands of dollars with me to master their album in a real mastering studio when they know that they could, for $5 a song, send it into some, artificial intelligence algorithm website that will just automatically master their songs lifelessly, but good enough, especially for $5. Hey, you could spend $5 here, $20 there, whatever, or you could spend $5,000 with me. That's a hard sell. I don't care how good your equipment is, how good the studio is, how good you are as an engineer. It's a tougher sell, especially when fewer and fewer people are using recording studios. That being said, there are people that are doing it. If that's your geek thing and your passion, then absolutely pursue it. One of my good friends, Chris Henderson, that's exactly what he does, and he's making a good living at it. He builds studio gear. I've had Chris on the show, recorded an entire interview with him. It's up on YouTube and all that good stuff. He's doing it, but he and people like him are kind of the exception to the rule. So I do still master on the side for people. I don't charge thousands of dollars for to master an album or to master a song, but I still do it. To let you beyond the curtain, for those that don't know, I did go to sound school, recording engineering school in North Hollywood back in 2003. I got it's not a degree, it's a certificate or something like that. It was 10 months. 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. It was called Soundmaster Recording Engineering School, so I went to school for it. And then I was going to college for radio, television, and film. And that is the story of how I wound up here in radio. But my background is in music. I do sound at my church every Sunday. I'm still actively involved in music. I still record my own music from time to time. I used to be way more active recording my own music. Sometimes I pepper in my music to these podcasts just to let listeners know what I'm creatively up to from time to time. So that is my background, is recording music, and that's why I'm all into microphones and speakers and microphone preamps. It's not just because of podcasting and being on the radio. It's just that I'm a geek about microphones, and I'm a geek about electronics, and I'm a geek about studio gear. I'm recording into a Universal Audio 4710D. It is one of my favorite microphone preamps in the world. You can switch between solid state and tube. I don't want to go all through that rabbit trail right now. That is just what I'm using on this current podcast. And I'm recording into my MXL V67G that I bought when I went to Soundmaster back in 2003. It's a $100 condenser microphone. It has done good for me over the past, 17 years at this point. I think I'm going to start wrapping it up there. I apologize. I recorded this very late. It is 1 a.m. I'm very tired. My cat is walking all over my arcade machine. I can barely ever keep the screen clean because she just gets her fur all over it. Sass, get down. No! She likes jumping up into the computer guts behind the marquee. Got it open right now. All right, that's going to do it for Geek Therapy Radio. Remember the affirmations at the beginning. We're all geeks about something. Embrace your inner geek. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of giving and receiving love. And you're worthy of your own self-worth and your own self-respect. So, until tomorrow, Take care, be good, be safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Geek Therapy Radio Podcast. All right, new YouTube video going up very soon, within the next 24 hours. Go check it out. It's very cool. It's about the last podcast, the 8-Bit Do Zero. It's the video review of that. It's pretty cool. Going up shortly, if it isn't already. All right, talk too much. See you tomorrow.
Therapy Radio, Saturday night at 10 on KPRC 950. Or listen anytime on our iHeartRadio app.